Strength is not about proving yourself, it's about staying true to your values. A parent's greatest legacy is not material success, but the lessons they plant in their children's hearts. Stay with us till the end. The sky was heavy with clouds, and rain poured down in sheets as James hurried home from his long shift at the factory. His boots splashed in the puddles, his coat soaked through, but his mind wasn't on the weather. He had expected Daniel, his 12-year-old son, to be home by now. Yet, the house had been empty when he arrived. Anxiety clawed at him. Daniel was usually responsible, but lately, James had noticed him struggling, trying too hard to fit in with boys who didn't always make the best choices. A neighbor's words only fueled his worry. "I saw Daniel with those kids again, near the old construction site." Without a second thought, James bolted into the storm, his heart pounding louder than the thunder above. When he reached the site, the scene froze his blood. There was Daniel, halfway up a broken scaffold, shaking with fear as the rusted structure groaned under his weight. Below, the other boys laughed, urging him to climb higher. "Come on, don't be a coward," they shouted. "Daniel!" James's voice cut through the rain like lightning. "Don't move." Ignoring the danger, James rushed forward. His shoes slipped on the wet ground, but his determination never wavered. With a strength born from desperation, he climbed toward his son, his hands gripping the unstable bars. Every second felt like an eternity. Just as the scaffold began to give way, James reached Daniel, pulling him close and guiding him down with trembling hands. They stumbled into the mud together, safe as the structure collapsed behind them with a deafening crash. Daniel clung to his father, sobbing, his small body shaking in the downpour. James wrapped him in his arms, whispering through tears of relief, "You never have to prove yourself to anyone. You are enough, just as you are." That night, as rain washed away the remnants of fear, Daniel realized something profound. His father wasn't just a provider, he was his shield. And James, though weary and burdened, silently vowed that no matter how tough life became, he would always rise to protect his son. The morning after the storm, James woke up sore and exhausted, but he forced himself out of bed before Daniel stirred. The memory of the night still haunted him, the image of his son clinging to that scaffold replayed over and over in his mind. While Daniel slept peacefully, James stared at his reflection in the bathroom mirror. His eyes were red, not just from fatigue but from guilt. Was he failing as a father? Working double shifts at the factory had taken most of his time and energy. Bills piled up, food prices rose, and every penny seemed to slip away as quickly as it came. Sometimes he returned home so drained that he barely managed to check Daniel's homework or ask about his day. He feared that in trying to provide for his son, he was neglecting the part of fatherhood that mattered most, being present. At breakfast, Daniel sat quietly, pushing his cereal around the bowl. James noticed the silence. "You okay, buddy?" he asked softly. Daniel hesitated, then whispered, "I just wanted them to like me, Dad. I don't want to be alone." James's chest tightened. He understood that loneliness, he had felt it deeply after his wife's passing. Taking Daniel's hand, he said, "I know it's hard. But real friends will never ask you to risk your life to earn their respect. You don't have to chase their approval." Later that day, James dragged himself through another grueling shift. Every clang of machinery echoed his inner doubts. But even as exhaustion pressed him down, he reminded himself of the promise he made in the rain, that he would be more than a provider. He would be a guide, a steady presence, a shield. That night, as Daniel did his homework at the kitchen table, James sat beside him, determined to be there even if it meant sacrificing sleep. The struggles were far from over, but in that small moment, he knew he was doing something right. A week later, James was called to Daniel's school. The principal's office felt heavy with silence as James entered, seeing his son sitting with his head bowed. His shirt was torn, and a bruise colored his cheek. "He got into a fight," the principal explained, her tone both stern and sympathetic. "Some boys were teasing him again, and Daniel reacted." James's heart sank. He wasn't angry at his son, but at the pain that drove him to lash out. On the way home, Daniel sat quietly in the car, avoiding his father's gaze. Finally, James spoke, his voice calm but firm. "Fighting doesn't solve the problem, son. You don't have to prove yourself with your fists." Daniel's voice cracked. "But they don't stop, Dad. They call me weak. They say I don't have anyone." James pulled the car over and turned to face him. "Do you know what real strength is?" he asked softly. "It's not about hitting back or climbing scaffolds to impress people. Real strength is standing tall when others try to push you down. It's knowing who you are, even when they don't see it." Daniel's eyes filled with tears. "But you're strong, Dad. I'm not like you." James smiled faintly, placing a hand on his son's shoulder. "I wasn't always strong. I got picked on when I was your age, too. I thought I had to fight to be respected. But I learned respect comes when you respect yourself first. And you, Daniel, are stronger than you realize." For the first time, Daniel looked at his father differently, not just as a man who worked himself to exhaustion, but as someone who had walked the same path and learned from it. That evening, as they sat at the kitchen table, Daniel didn't just do his homework, he asked his father to share stories of his own childhood. And in those stories, a bridge formed between them. James knew the battle wasn't over, but something had shifted. His son was beginning to see strength not as a fight to win but as a truth to live. Spring arrived with a gentler breeze, and life began to feel lighter for James and Daniel. One Saturday morning, James took his son to the local community center where he sometimes volunteered. The building was old but alive with warmth, children laughing, volunteers serving food, and neighbors helping one another. Daniel looked around curiously. "Why do you come here, Dad? You already work so much." James knelt to his son's level, his voice steady but kind. "Because strength isn't just about carrying your own burdens. It's about lifting others, too. Helping people reminds me that no matter how tough life gets, we can always bring light into someone else's darkness." That day, Daniel helped hand out food to families in need. At first, he was shy, but as he saw the gratitude on people's faces, something shifted inside him. Later, as they walked home, Daniel said quietly, "I think I understand what you mean now. Real strength isn't showing off, it's showing up." James smiled, pride swelling in his chest. "Exactly, son. And you showed up today." Weeks later, Daniel stood tall at a school assembly where students shared what they valued most. When it was his turn, he walked to the front, glanced at his father sitting in the back row, and said, "My hero is my dad. Not because he's the strongest or richest, but because he never gives up on me. He taught me that I don't need to prove myself to anyone, I just need to be true to who I am." The room filled with applause, but James heard only the words. His heart ached with pride, his eyes damp with tears. In that moment, he realized that despite all the struggles, the late nights, the worries, the sacrifices, he had given Daniel something greater than comfort or wealth. He had given him the courage to live with strength, honesty, and love. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe for more motivational videos.